President Tinubu employs ECOWAS leaders not to fail the community.
ECOWAS ministers strategize on contingency plan for withdrawal of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso from the bloc.
Federal government denies fixed concession term agreement for Enugu Airport.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on addressing building collapse in Nigeria through law enforcement. What a lovely voice.
Okay. Every year, a building or several collapse in at least one state in Nigeria, claiming lives and inflicting injuries on many others. A case in point is the building collapse that occurred at the weekend in Lagos.
Absolutely. Now, several factors have also been cited as causes for, these incidents. Now, some of them would include disregard for building codes, use of fake or defective or substandard materials, negligence as well as incompetence and corruption.
You're right, Claire. For the upturn time, concerned persons in building and engineering fields are asking regulators to do more in the area of monitoring to ensure building in Nigeria are constructed professionally.
The alarming number of buildings that have collapsed indicate serious gaps on the path of regulation and measures to stop shady practices that lead to building collapse.
And some have asked if Nigeria's challenge is inadequate laws or poor implementation of these laws. Are these laws enough to stop practices that lead to building collapse in Nigeria? We have guests joining us shortly to speak on these issues. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And I'm Claire Adelabo Abdurrazak. Demola, guests would always tell you that we are not short of good laws. What we are probably need to,
is implementation.
Exactly. But we will hear more from our guests much later in the course of the program. And just before that, Chukwude Kudugbaja will be joining us for the newspaper review. And then, of course, we'll get on with our conversation. But for now, Comfort Amado may have some comforting news for us this morning.
Yes, Claire, good morning. And Ademola, Nigerians, we have some cheering news with leaders being asked not to fail the community. And that was the general temple that echoed Adeko's Golden Jubilee, where President Bola Tinubu, in a message, implored West African leaders to adopt renewed approaches for the speedy realization of the ECOWAS common interest in achieving integration and cooperation of the West African sub-region. An ECOWAS Council of Ministers meeting in Accra to work out modalities for the withdrawal of the 3 Sahelian countries as a contingency plan for the regional bloc. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga says the emergency meeting is in compliance with the directives of the authorities of heads of state and government chaired by President Bola Tinubu.
Also consider the effect of suspending programs in the exited countries, as well as address emerging challenges on free movement of people, goods, and services. The Council will also receive a memorandum on the relocation of ECOWAS institutions and agencies that are located in the 3 Sahel states.
Elsewhere, Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy Wale Edun is spearheading the country's delegation to the 2025 IMF World Bank Spring meetings in Washington, D.C., where he's driving discussions on economic reform, international partnership, and financial stability. And the minister's schedule for the week underscores Nigeria's strategic push for economic reform, international partnership, and financial sustainability. Among other key engagements are bilateral meetings with senior officials from the IMF, World Bank, and International Financial Corporation, as well as participation in roundtables focused on climate finance, energy transition, and debt restructuring. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy of Nigeria, Wale Edun, is also hopeful that despite urgent concerns over persistent humanitarian crisis, rising debt burdens, and the bleak economic outlook for many developing nations, he said he believes that the call by the Intergovernmental Group of 24 for immediate, forceful multilateral action has been heard. Away from that, the Federal Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development dismisses reports claiming that a fixed lengthy concession period has been agreed upon for the Kano Ibiam International Airport, Enugu. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor on Media and Communications to the Minister, Tunde Moshood, the Minister described the claims as baseless and untrue. The clarification follows recent online reports alleging that a specific concession duration had already been approved. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has concluded arrangements to commence the 2025 Hajj operations with the airlift of pilgrims to Saudi Arabia starting from May 9th. And the update was disclosed after the Board Commission briefed Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa on preparations for the 2025 Hajj operations. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, on behalf of the entire Muslim community in Nigeria, condoles with the Nigerian Catholic community in particular and the entire Christendom on the glorious transition of Pope Francis. A statement signed by the Deputy National Legal Advisor, Imam Harun Mohammed Eze, it says the late pontiff was a humane, humble, and fair-minded servant of the Almighty, and the fact that the last public pronouncement of the late Pope called for a ceasefire in the war against the people of Gaza and the Palestinians is a testament to the late Pope's commitment to a just and equitable world. In memory of the late Pope, renowned for peace and harmony, the Council seizes the sober moment to renew its commitment to dialogue, peace and understanding among our faith traditions, both locally and globally. That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Ademola after this break.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary healthcare center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Afam Bogeneka, Ebim Nagara Dimawa Village, Abuja, Nazo Afeba. So Esom Nandi register na NSR government register with my NIN. So government wears them ATM card. Mjiwe worth 25,000 naira 3 times. And ega haya mketa barumulu na dem eji megoro makamihe. Jikweru mehendozo. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The new Harpic sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just 1 sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Harpic sachet.
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Does your toothpaste give you complete fresh protection? New Close-Up Toothpaste Complete Fresh Protection takes care of your 5 important oral care needs. It gives you strong teeth, prevents tooth holes, cleans deeply, fights bacteria, and gives you fresh breath. Complete fresh protection from Close-Up.
We're live in the open market for Harpic 10X Challenge. My people, today now. Today, I will show you how the power of new Harpic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Harpic is thicker and sticks better, which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow.
You can now see that Harpic is better than bleach.
So why do you need Dettol 12-hour protective shield?
Why? Come, let me show you. From my husband's germ-filled journey to work, to his daily interaction, touching where everyone has touched, and the sweaty journey back home. What else can give you all day long protection?
Germs are everywhere, but Dettol's 12-hour protective shield shields your family every day,
keeping them safe, healthy, happy, and successful.
Dettol, be 100% sure.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria, and I'm sure you guess why we are all smiling. Chukwudoko Dugbaja is right in the building. Let me echo Victor's words. But please don't go away. He will appear in just a minute.
Well, our newspaper reviewer is Chooks. Good morning.
Morning. I don't want to sound like a bundle of mischief, but I want to tell
that you are.
My dear viewer, how would you know why they are you witches and wizards?
That you are.
It's okay, I'll tell you later.
When Chukwudi is in the house, you know.
I am happy to be around.
Yes.
Yes. My nuisance value is actually becoming something else in my village. How are you, Claire?
Well, I'm in there.
You look happy. I pray that it is well into your heart. May God give you a great day.
Amen. I like that. And you too, Chukwudi.
When did you become a pastor?
Don't worry.
You don't know me. You don't know me.
All right, let's quickly start off. And I like to start with the Daily Times. It has a story on the, you know, sometimes this Chukwudi will always say English is funny. Finish court. Finish.
Oh, finish.
Finish.
Not finish.
Not finish.
There's a difference between E and A. Thank you.
Approves Simon Ekpa's extradition to Nigeria. It's right there. And, okay, I'm just trying to zoom in to see other stories. Man who killed stepmother, sister to die by hanging in Kanu. NBA advocates eye for an eye on Plateau killings. Eye for an eye on Plateau killings. And APC sells Lagos State Chairmanship LG's election forms for 5 million naira. Just above the nameplate, Tinubu set to meet NSA service chiefs. IGP Egbetokun effects major shake-up in police mobile force. And that's the Daily Times. Let me quickly shift to the blueprint. And the blueprint leads with quite a number of stories on the front page. Hajj 2025. NACON states agree on May 9 inaugural flights and operations July the 2nd. Max Air to airlift 15,203. Flying hours 12,506. UMZA 10,163. Air Peace 5,128. And Kano begins distribution of materials. Now, Vatican declares a Saturday for Pope's burial. Italy in a 5-day mourning. Now, just below the picture story, you find Adebayo to Atiku-led coalition. SDP won't be vehicle against Tinubu in 2027. Vows to recontest on party's platform. Prioritize policy to achieve 500 trillion naira economy 2026, Bakoba tells federal government. And Niger restricts tricycle or Okada operations from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And quickly, let's look at 7 killed in Kamanji, Ilesha, Baruba attacks. Bandits, informant nabbed. And of course, there's something in sports. World Athletics relays Nigeria to participate in 4 events in China. Okay, let me just stop there. And
are you done?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. I think there's an I don't know, Edo monarch suspended over alleged kidnapping. You know, so.
Okay, I have the Vanguard newspaper with me, and just the green strip. We have IMF lowers Nigeria's economic growth forecast to 3%. Then we have then the headline reads worsening insecurity. Niger government imposes curfew, 11 killed in fresh Benue attack. Evil will be defeated, NSA says Tinubu met a bad situation. This is carnage, we're helpless. Governor Alia, Tiv Idoma Paramount ruler summoned meeting of subjects as NBA asked federal government to urgently allow state police. Federal government is overwhelmed. Afenifere and Pandef Details of that story can be found on page 5. Then we have world leaders expected as Vatican fixes Saturday for Pope Francis' funeral. The details of that story can be found on page 9. Hajj 2025, NACOM, states agree on May 9 inaugural flight. Details on page 10. Don't take out your frustration on us. Senate replies Bakare. Details of that story can be found on page 8. Man U beat off competition to reach basic agreements to sign Osimhen. And protesters urge Tinubu to reinstate Fubara. And that is the picture, the front page picture there. We have Women River State Group, Port Harcourt Township Pressure Group engaged in peaceful demonstration calling on President Bola Tinubu to reinstate suspended Governor to Fubara of River State in Port Harcourt yesterday. Well, Chooks, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Demola. Tinubu set to meet NSA service chiefs, and you will say about time too. The president's absence must have been responsible for that meeting not holding even well before now, because Plateau, Benue have been turned into killing fields. Yes, these fatal clashes have been happening, but the volume of it now, the extent of it now has become really worrisome. What is responsible for it? Is it the alleged uprooting of some natives ahead of the farming season so that some people can take over? Is it political? In fact, the menu for them should not banish anything if they are to solve what is happening now, because it's become unspeakable calamity. The other time I said, Claire, please don't repeat, was it you, the pastor thing. The other time I said, let it not be that Nigeria is suffering from a spiritual problem because too much blood has flowed in this country. Now let me refrain from emotion and concentrate on analysis. If, as, is it Alia, who is saying there that
Alia.
It is people from outside?
I
mentioned,
yes, that's the governor.
I mentioned my friend when I was in Jos, James Maddock, the media man who served Jonah Jang. Chukudi, we live peacefully as a people till invaders from outside come in to put us asunder. Can you see how that is being repeated on and on and on? You know, what do we need to do to stop them?
You know, yesterday he was the governor of Benue. I listened to him, you know, give a description of the invaders that got me, you know, really, really worried. A distinction between what he called traditional headers, yes, you know, who in times of conflict like this also, you know, assist them, collaborate, they come together to solve. And this recent, you know, infiltration that you're talking
yes.
about. Now, he also said that the group of new headers that are, you know, coming into the country are armed. They're not the traditional headers, like you always say, that come with, you know, the stake and, you know, phone and all that. These ones come heavily armed with AK-47. I didn't even know there was an AK-49. AK-49 and all that.
47 is only more popular.
Yes, and they come,
the Kalashnikov.
They hit and they run back to neighboring countries I don't want to mention. Of course, you know, the neighboring countries
yes.
that are bordering Benue and parts of. So it's a big concern.
You know, Claire, what we try to do as aged broadcasters is not to come here and talk irresponsibly. A broadcaster with loose lips can cause more carnage than what the AK-47 can do. But it is about time for us to say, so if it's about uprooting some people, those who take over when they have uprooted the natives, are they not also candidates for starting your investigation from? Whom are the invaders killing on behalf of? Look, you do not banish anything from handling this problem. Because at the end of the day, you want the Hausa man, the Fulani man, the Birom man, I can't remember the three tribes of them.
The Angas.
Angas. And
Yes.
You want them to live peacefully because they have been living peacefully, for crying out loud.
Again, Demola and Chukwudi, people, you know, or analysts have also talked about the document, you know, called the ECOWAS protocol, not just on free movement, but also on the transhuman, you know, document that allows for grazing routes and all that. That there's a need to look at those documents again.
Yes.
Yes, because it also indirectly, you know, impedes the very essence of that protocol.
Yes.
You know. And that's why you have these people coming, you know, hit,
freely,
get back, you know. So
what you're saying is that modern realities demand a look at those protocols again.
Again.
The free grazing of 1960, 1970 cannot happen in 2025. We're not saying this against our herders. It's the reality of the times. When the former president, Buhari, was saying that grazing routes have been blocked and all that, I said, hey, Mr. President, should we actually be talking about grazing routes these days? We should be talking about how to even have a heart, make the cows, you know, be humane towards the cows. Yeah, we know they're eventually going to get to get the knife, but can we please be nice to them before we kill them to eat? Why torture them? That journey from, you must be, a scout is taught you must be nice to animals. In Africa, we are not nice to animals. We've cleared all the porcupines, all the grass cutters in our bushes.
yes, and
We need to modernize the way we think about certain things in Nigeria.
we also need to not just modernize, we need to up our intelligence. I mean, in this time, Chukwudi, intelligence, you must have.
Is that not why they are calling force, the police?
Yes, you know, you must have that
You know,
intelligence
to
know when these people are about to strike.
I hate to sound like Oversabi when I come
our
here, but let me drop it
intelligence
again.
is complicit
State
as well.
police is a matter of time. Let people do all the dilly-dallying and all that. Eventually it will happen. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's as simple. It is going to happen because there just aren't enough boots on the ground. Whether you're talking about the police, whether you're talking about the armed forces and all that, there are not enough boots on the ground. Nigeria's share geographical coverage is dizzying. That is the truth. We have to face the truth if we sincerely want to solve our problems.
All right, Chukwudi.
Okay, Chooks,
Chukwudi.
thank
You know, a corollary to what we're discussing is building collapse. That one too has, you know, continued over the years, over time. But again, this is the subject of our conversation this morning.
Building collapse.
Yes, Chukwudi, have a good day.
Yeah.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
I see you're contemplating contractors in jail. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, let's take a break. Please don't go away. Building collapse and law enforcement is the topic for conversation.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Diversity is unique, we are more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, strength and unity, we know they carry love. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
Hi.
You don't know when you have bacteria breath, and bacteria may be the cause of it. Don't let bacteria breath get all the attention. Use Close-Up with antibacterial zinc. Close-Up helps get rid of bacteria breath.
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
The new Happic sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happic sachet.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To set the tone for the discussion, let's listen to this background report by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Building collapses are continuous and devastating issues in Nigeria, with hundreds losing their lives every year as valuable properties lost. Major cities such as Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt have witnessed several incidences of building collapse, leaving behind tragic loss of lives and properties. Unfortunately, some persons say efforts made to address these issues are not enough, and the casualty figures rise yearly. Experts highlight a mix of substandard building materials, poor enforcement of building codes, unqualified contractors, and hasty implementation, as well as poor execution of building plans, are some of the reasons why building collapse remains a pressing issue in the country. This is further exacerbated by what has been described as the lack of expertise in the development industry. The likelihood of design errors and excessive loading are highlighted. In addition, corruption and lack of proper enforcement could be another major issue. Implementations are inconsistent and victims are left without compensation. Although the government intends to tighten legislative restrictions to ensure a better building practice, the battle is an uphill task as Nigerians get continually exposed to risk of substandard structures. Although this problem is said to be mostly created by man-made factors, some causes are out of the control of man, such as natural phenomena and disasters such as flood, erosion and wildfires mar the integrity of building structures. Without protections and safety nets targeted at recovery from natural disasters, such events create hopeless situations for victims who are not only devastated by the loss but also left stranded economically. With the rapid growth of urbanization, experts insist that it is essential to enforce building standards while holding developers accountable. The regulators must as well be alive to their responsibilities of ensuring safety while upholding the building codes as the guide. Now, what are the roles of the citizens in all this? And how best can the government take the fight further to eradicate the menace? Our guest on Good Morning Nigeria will be discussing these with more solutions to be proffered shortly.
Thank you, Oyemi Ajayi. So there was yet another building collapse in Lagos last weekend. How many more needs to come down before our system stands tall? We've had several discussions on this program. There have been several dialogue events, seminars, and all of that. Yet building collapse continue to take lives, not just lives, cut short dreams of people, and of course, the impact on our infrastructure. The question really is, who bears the brunt? Or maybe I should ask, who really is to blame? Today on Good Morning Nigeria, we will look beyond the surface and ask some more uncomfortable questions. Who is actually sitting on these dreams? So let me begin with our introductions. We have right here in the studio Professor let me start with Professor Samson Duna, who is the DG CEO, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, NIBRI. DG, welcome to the program. Welcome to the program, DG.
Good morning,
yes, thank you.
Thank
I'm sorry, I'm just not happy about this, that we're having to discuss this. Yeah. Professor Sadiq Zubair Abubakar is the current president, and we're very happy that he's here with us on this program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, viewers.
Also joining us here is the national president, Construction and Civil Engineering Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Dr. Ayodeji Adeyemo. Dr. Adeyemo, thank you. And thank you for agreeing to stay with us to the end of our conversation.
Thank you.
We're very glad. All right. Demola, sorry, I took your...
See, I'm just looking at you.
I'm very sorry.
You just got carried away.
Yes, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
All right. Since you have introduced
yes,
Dr. Ayodeji Adeyemo, let me just go to our Zoom guest. He's joining us from Lagos, Engineer Nimot Muili, Chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Ikeja Branch. Engineer Muili, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to my learned colleagues and mentors.
And since you are in Lagos, can you just quickly tell us what happened over the weekend, the building collapse? What are the information trickling in there? What do you think is responsible for that particular collapse in Lagos?
Yeah, so for that particular collapse in Lagos, the major information is the fact that it was reported that the building is distressed. And for when a building is distressed, what that means is that is either it has reached the end of the design life, either the construction methodology was poorly done initially, and sometimes it's a case of when rehabilitation of the building is going on and they are not properly executed. For example, maybe a floor is being rehabilitated and there is a need to ensure proper shoring of other supporting structural member. When a major structural member is being removed, like a column, that is like the core of the building. So when that is not properly done, and it's usually a case when the clients don't engage professionals to execute the project, professional across board, it involves beyond the structural engineer. You have the safety crew also, the safety engineers that need to be involved. You have the geotechnical engineers that also need to advise on the status of the underground material that support the foundation of the material. You also need to also look at the adjoining surroundings in terms of what's the current use of the adjoining property. Initially, when the buildings are done, sometimes the use might be different from what the current use is. So all those need to be taken into consideration. And sometimes these are jettisoned. I mean, you just wake up overnight and you see, oh, there's a new structure here, or there's a renovation going on. And you wonder, how do we get here? Sometimes you see that buildings are sealed during the week, and during the weekend, the work is concluded. So there's a lot of factors that require the input of, they are continually require the inputs of engineers beyond structural engineers, engineers including services, because sometimes the damage that improper execution of services does to structural members are significant as well. So it's a combination of so many things, and I'm sure that in the course of the discussion, we also look at materials, we also look at design, and we'll also be looking at the interaction of the role of various disciplines of engineering in project execution and building collapse.
Thank you, Engineer Nimot. Just a little bit more with you, because I know we have Koren President here with us and DJ. But just for clarification, you said the collapse over the weekend, was or you attributed it to building distress. And I'm just wondering, what's the year, or lifespan of that building, and what triggered the distress in the first place?
Okay, so I don't have all the details, and the investigation is still ongoing to get the necessary documentation. So I'm sure by the time this is done to a reasonable extent, it will be made to the public what's the design life, the major root cause. I mean, all the information available on the internet are based on the say and the investigation, the preliminary investigation that the Lagos State Material Testing Lab has done. So I'm sure it might be a bit too early to arrive at a conclusion of what actually happened. And considering that it's being taken up by a well-branded government agency, that's the Lagos State Material Testing Lab, maybe then we'll have the full details. But right now, I mean, I don't want to speak on the authority of an agency that I'm not a part of.
All right, Nimot, thank you. Let me come back to the studio, Demola, and ask Professor Samson Jr., because he's in charge of, research in institute. I mean, you heard the chairman, the same surface explanation that we get all the time and all that. What do you think is that systemic failure that we have consistently ignored, and why has it persisted despite all conversations?
Thank you very much. Let me start by commiserating with the people that died in these ugly incidents. This thing is avoidable. This thing can be minimized. this thing implies that somebody somewhere is not doing his job. Somebody somewhere failed in his responsibility. If not, this ugly incidents of building collapse would not have been persistent as it is occurring. As of today, this year, we have 8 cases of building collapse. And we're anticipating more because rainy season is coming.
I wish it's not more than 8. With the way we get this.
So far, I think
it's the ones that are reported.
Yes, the one reported, we have about 8 cases as of today.
The ones that are reported.
And more will come because rainy season. When the soil becomes saturated with rain, the bearing capacity becomes very low and it becomes very soft. And you should expect that buildings that are not designed to specification will surely fail. As to the question, what happened? Where are we getting it wrong? I think where we are getting it wrong is from enforcement. Policy on ground, we have good policies on ground. But how do we implement such policies for it to be effective to our own system? Have we ever found someone that is found wanting? Were we able to take somebody to court? Were we able to punish a defaulter to serve as a detriment to others? Were we able to put systems on ground? I normally give an analogy every day. I said, do not allow things to happen before you start getting prepared. Now, building collapse happen, every system, every media is shouting building collapse, building collapse. After 2 days, it will vanish. Until when there's another building collapse, professionals will be invited to hear their view. What is your view on this? But it's beyond inviting professionals to hear your view. It's looking at the system. What can you put in a system that can stop this thing totally? If not stopping, what can we put in a system to minimize the entire thing? We have gone beyond factors. What is the factor? What is the reason for the failure? The factors are paramount, about 6 or 7 factors. We all know the factors. Since the factors are known, the next thing is that what can we put in place to fight these factors so that failure will not occur? We should go beyond knowing the factors. As of today, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, we have carried out investigation on more than 80 cases of building collapse.
Can we have all those?
All these are investigations of building collapse carried out by NIBRI.
You want to?
No. So if we have to look at it one by one, we have done a lot of research. We have done a lot of study. There is no building that collapses that NIBRI is not there to carry out samples, to come up with reports. And the reports are there.
This is 71, 70, you can see. If I can just say.
All the reports.
You know, yes.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
So the idea is not issue of coming up with the factors. What are the factors responsible for building collapse? You will talk about the technical investigation. You talk about design. You talk about overloading. Talk about maximizing profit. Talk about poor supervision, poor workmanship, lack of proper design, using of lack of professionals. Supervision is not carried out properly, and quite a lot of things. From substandard material, just to mention a few. But the other aspect that is quiet is the issue of enforcement.
Okay.
Are we able to enforce? Who is to be held responsible? When someone is found responsible, where did it stop? And it stopped on the table, and that's the end of it.
You've raised fundamental questions.
All right. So, thank you very much, Professor Samson Duna, DG, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute. Well, we just want to inform our viewers that you can also respond to this conversation. You can contribute by sending us a text message on 08169688126. 08169688126. You can send your contribution via text messages to this number, and the number is also displayed on your screen there. So let's come to the president of COREN, Professor Sadiq Zubair Abubakar. I mean, we have listened to some of these, challenges that we are facing. Would you say that we have, let's look at the laws and the regulations, actually, governing building construction in Nigeria, and how effective are they in preventing, these building collapse? Are they, do we have enough? Are they effective, or is the implementation still the challenge?
Thank you very much. Again, let me also join the DG in commiserating with the victims of this very unfortunate, avoidable event that that seems to defy a lot of things that we are doing as a nation. I'm very happy to get what the DG mentioned. The whole issue, I think, should centered around enforcement.
Not about the law.
Yeah, the laws are there, I think, reasonably. For Koren and the other regulators within the construction and built environment, we have Cobon, we have Akon, we have Sogon, you know, and then we have the country surveyors. These groups have already sat down and have been interrogating the National Building Code. Reasonably, we believe the policies that will guide a friendly construction and building environment ecosystem is in place. That's policy-wise. Legislative-wise, Korean has been glamoring an amendment in its laws to be able to ensure that as one of the major regulators in the built environment, that we have what it takes to be able to sanction and fight with the, and we are lucky in 2018, the Korean Act that was established in 1972 was amended. And the aspect that I would like to mention to be able to discuss what Professor Samson Duna said is the downstream regulatory aspect of the law is that we now have the provision to make what we call gazettes. And those gazettes are the opportunity that allow us to elaborate on specific issues that, you know, the glamorous act will not be able to specify, because normally there is what they call subsidiarity of creating law. And most regulators, not only Korean, have that opportunity, meaning you can take one aspect and then you elaborate to the point of specificity on who is responsible for what, who does what. So with that addition that we now have what we call whistleblowers that we have already, you know, escalated all over the country. To be able to be looking at, like what the Lagos State branch said, when you see a distressed building, what do? You blow the whistle to the regulators, to the development and control units and what have you, so that we can go and be able to now intervene. And then we have the intelligence and surveillance task force persons now. We have what we are doing with NIBRI. I'm sure in the discussion we get it. There is what we call the investigation panel. Like this building that we are discussing, the recent one in Lagos, immediately after the preliminaries, we are supposed to now commission an investigation group to go and do the formal investigation. NIBRI being the research institute in that respect, on their own, they do that, and they publish report, as you have seen. When you, at the point of investigation, you would branch into two levels. Those of our Nigerians who are not qualified, who are not licensed to partake in anything that has to do with construction or building, whatever, they are what we call quacks. The law has given us now the mandate to prosecute them straight to the police. You know, prosecute them under the Nations Act, so that because they are impersonating, they are doing the wrong thing. On the second leg, where you have the professionals, the engineers, the architects, the builders, the surveyors, the quantities, you know, and all these are the professionals within the built environment. If you have them, you know, not meeting up the ethical standard, then there's what we call the tribunal. The tribunal that will try them. It's already in place. And the tribunal will try them, and if we find them culpable, then the sanctions are there, very well specified in the Gazette to punish them. Either you withdraw the license, you suspend them, you can, so many options that we have, within the realms. But let me say that the law, as it is, has also missed a fundamental segment. Because from what DG knows and from what all of us have known within the system of the built environment, the culpability, if you put it on a ratio, is about 20% with the professionals in terms of their ethical control and what have you. But about 80%, even above, is with the developers and the clients, the owners of the builders and what have you. And we will discuss this. But under the law, under the legislative, under our mandate, this group are not covered by the radar of enforcement. So,
because I was going to ask, if at the construction site, who is supposed to be the lead person there?
It is within the group. It is within the group, the engineer, the architect, the builder, the quantity surveyor. Often, we look at what we call the manager on site. It could be an engineer, often it could be the architect. These are the issues. But you see, I must admit that there is what we call the Forum for Regulators in the Built Environment. We have not sat down, and that is what I think the DG is saying. We are beginning to sit down and say, look, we must agree to synergize and to have a collaboration and to sanction ourselves. Vis-a-vis the development control staff who approved something and what have you. But the one I'm saying at this stage is that the culpability, and this is the takeaway I want you to have, that we have reasonably mechanism to deal with the professionals who are handling about 20% of the culpability. But 80% of the culpability is with the developers, with the client, and they are not covered. They are not covered at all by law.
When your members notice this, why don't they report to the authorities concerned and point out that this is short-changing the building structure that they are supposed to put up?
No. I think the point is we have already packaged areas of amendment. What I'm trying to tell you is that when you have a developer who goes and obtains substandard materials, who goes and hire a quack, who goes and, all these things, like we are saying, who is culpable? The culpability now is on this, and the law does not give us the powers to deal with them. So this is the issue.
Not dealing with them, but calling the attention of government to it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, until we amend, until we do the amendment. That's the point.
President Koren, it's a very big concern that you have just mentioned. 80% of those who are supposed to be responsible for our buildings are not covered by the enforcement law.
Yes.
That's what you have said.
Yes.
So it is only the 20%. Now, let's stay with the 20%. And we've all agreed, we all know what is happening. We know the factors. And we've agreed that it's enforcement. Now, from the town planners to the professional bodies such as yours and all that, Dr. Adeyemo, who should have been in jail or out of office and is not in terms of enforcement?
Thank you. Let me join the earlier speakers to commensurate with Nigerians that died in the recent building collapse. I think I want to agree first of all with the DG and the president of Koren on the major factor that is lagged behind, and that is the enforcement, first of all. Now, as the president has spoken, is a teamwork. And who is to be blamed? I think it depends.
Who should go to jail? Because we have agreed it's lack of enforcement among the 20% of people that are covered by the enforcement laws and are not doing their job.
I think the president of Koren explained that the professionals, some professionals who are meant to manage the projects. Now, when you talk of that 20%, whosoever is a professional that is meant to manage the project.
Current is one. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Current is one. Is a regulator.
Yeah.
You also have other, you know,
And the architects.
Yes. So these are the, you know, enforcement regulators.
Yes.
Yes. So where do you, you know, I mean, who should take responsibility?
The laws are there, as they are said, and the punishment are there. So whosoever is managing a project and is if there is a case of negligence, the law should be applied. So it's not a matter of who should go to jail. There is a law. There are laws.
Who is not enforcing the law among the regulators? Who is not doing their job? Somebody must. I mean, it is not Ademola. It is not us. Yes.
I think he pointed something out that the professionals should be meeting. And so, who is not enforcing the law? They are the professionals. When you are talking of the 20%.
Yes.
Aside from the 80%.
Yes.
The 80%, as he has mentioned, centered on the vendors. That is the owner.
Let's keep the 80% aside because they are not covered by the enforcement law. Now, the 20% covered by the enforcement law, what are they doing? And why are they not enforcing?
Yeah, I think there should be more collaboration between all the professionals.
Just like he said.
Just like he said. Because as at now, you cannot say specifically that this person or this professional should be punished for any building collapse.
Has there been sanctions in the past for
Yes.
this collapse?
Yes.
Because we have not been seeing, you know, I mean, we've not heard about sanctions, that people responsible for all this collapse. There have been sanctions. We have not heard.
There have been sanctions.
Because remember the Ikoyi saga, the one that happened, the Twin Tower that collapsed and killed, you know, even the owner and all that. We've not heard anything about so far.
No, but there have been sanctions.
Okay.
And, you know, you are talking of the 20% that are captured. Yeah. And leaving behind the 80. I think why it is not, why the publicity is not there is because that group is so small compared to the other 80. So I think that is what is responsible.
The issue of the 20% that are captured and the 80 that are not, when you realize that these people are changing in the building materials and the building process, why don't you blow the whistle? The 20%, why don't you blow the whistle?
Thank you.
Call the government in and tell them, look, we are on the site, but this is what we notice.
Thank you. Like in Construction and Civil Engineering Senior Staff Association, we have members that are competent, members that are registered. I'm a registered engineer, and I'm a fellow of Nigeria Society of Engineers. We have, likewise, we have some of our colleagues that are registered in as quantity surveyors, architects. Now, you can only blow the whistle of what you know about. We work in an environment that is coordinated. We work with employers that are registered, even with current. So the issue of building collapse, when you look at some of our employers like Julius Baja, Salini, RCC, you cannot pinpoint any project that they are engaging or any building that has collapsed. That is the one they built. So you can only blow whistle about what you know. But in CESA, we work in an environment that is well coordinated, and we adhere to rules and regulations guiding buildings.
In every building, I mean, construction, aren't we supposed to have at least one of the representatives of those captured in the in the team?
Yes.
So they should know when there is abnormalities going on.
You are very right.
Yeah.
And I think there have been cases, sir. You can attest to that. There have been cases of professionals reporting to Koren or NSC about what is going on in a building site that are not in conformity with the codes and standard.
Okay, let me ask DG, do you work with, I mean, probably the state government? We're talking about this, that they are planning departments, the building departments. Do you work, your organizations, your associations, do you work with them?
You see, that is the issue. When you say you want to punish somebody, you must have identified that he's found wanting in the system. And from all the various cases we have studied, we discovered that at any of these stages, building can collapse. One, the person doing the design, if the design is not done properly, there will be failure. Where you are expected to construct 10-story buildings on paper, you decided to go 15 because you want to maximize profit, building will collapse. When you decide to go and site a structure in waterlogged area where the soil is not strong, you went to do another foundation that is not captured properly, the building will collapse. Where you are expected to put 10 rods, you decided to put 8 or 7 to maximize profit, the building will collapse. Where you are expected to use 16 mm, you are using 12 mm, the building will collapse. Where you fail to supervise, quality of concrete and quality of material is not done properly, the building will collapse. Where quackery is there, giving directives, where you're supposed to put 0.6 of support, during construction, you decided to make it very far, it will sag, the building will collapse. So at each of these stages, there is collapse and somebody is to be blamed. Before you are allowed to start construction, you carry your paper, your drawings, be it mechanical drawing, architectural drawings, M&E, they call it M&E drawings. You carry it and take it to a government body. Somebody in his office comfortable is there expecting you to come. When you submit your drawing, he checks it. It's supposed to be sent to a professional to look at this drawing. Are they okay? But most of these drawings, when you give them, all they do is that go and pay the prescribed fee. They stamp, approve. Go and start your drawing. Go and start your building. You can see from day one, as you submit your working drawing, it's supposed to be cross-checked by a professional that knows his job. And
sorry, sir.
Sorry.
I just want to point out something. The people in the ministries, either state or federal government ministries, are they qualified engineers? Because if they are not, and you supply, what is it called now? You give them the drawings and all that. How would they know whether this is correct or not? Are they members of your association?
We're on the same page with you. That is where the first problem comes in.
That is where the problem
There's a state that you discover that you have only 2 or 3 engineers that are qualified. And you see people that are not in that line approving a drawing that is not in their field. You can see that's the first problem, fundamental problem. This is a structural drawing that's supposed to carry about maybe 5 or 6 story building.
Okay.
When I mean structurally, you put columns, you put foundation, you put your slab, and all these half number of rods, stirrups, and all these elements that are there. Someone's supposed to check, will this thing stand? Let me do some rough checking as a professional. If I put Y16, Y20, will it be okay? But he's not conversant with that. He's not in his own field. All he does is that he stamp it, he approve it, and he allows you to go and start construction. You are doing construction, nobody follows you to see what you are doing. Are you doing the right thing or not?
Do you point this out to the government?
I have strong recommendations in all the reports. Every year we do conferences in Nibri. We do summit, we do workshops that has to do with it. We create awareness. Now, in terms of awareness, at times the client might not be knowledgeable. You might not know that this is where it's supposed to. Every material you use on site is supposed to be tested to know that this material is standard. Now, for instance, peradventure you said you want to build your own house now. You will say, okay, employ this. You will start, the client will start complaining. This is too expensive, I don't have the money. But you have money to build. But when it comes to taking good professional to do the job, you might start complaining. So that takes up to who is to be blamed. The blame is not issue of saying who fails to do his job. That is where the thing is.
That is where the question.
The person that fails to do, the person stamping it at point 1, if he stamp it, he doesn't know what he's stamping. He has failed.
Who checks?
Yes, that's number 1. Number 2, somebody that sit down to design. For instance, the building will be sited in Borno or will be sited in Lagos. You have never been there.
You don't even know the topography.
You don't know the topography. You just give me a phone call, say, give me the value of the soil bearing capacity, I want to design a 3-story building. He said, use 120 kilonewton, use 200 kilonewton. He just sit down without carrying out any tests. He used 200 and design.
The soil test and all that.
You understand? It's a problem. Now, in the process of designing, I've approved your drawing. You are working. Can't I go and see what you are doing? How many people visit? How many people carry out supervision to see what the client is doing, whether the person is doing right or not? Nobody does that. When you visit there, you see people using any quality of material they feel like. When the supervisor is coming, the quality of concrete will be rich. As they are going, they go back to their poor quality of concrete. So you discover that the quality of material is in doubt. Let's go back to even the steel that we are talking about. Okay. Steel is a factory product. We assume that the quality of steel produced in Nigeria is standard. You go to your market, buy your steel and use it. But I want to inform you that we have tested quite a number of steel in the lab. And 60% of the quality of our steel is in doubt. It does not meet the standard requirement. We are expected to have a FY, tensile property of steel of 460. We are getting 410, 415. We are supposed to get 410, we are getting 395.
So the builder may not even know that.
Thank you very much. That takes us to a body responsible to ascertaining the quality of this finished product. Standard organization, with all respect, they are trying. But at least they need standard laboratory to do that. Do we have standard laboratories everywhere to carry out tests for this quality of materials? We don't. We can assume that the steel is okay, but the steel is not okay. SON is doing it, but they need more hands. They need assistance. They need machines. They need laboratories for them to do that. So identifying blame game at this point, I feel we should be championing as what measures can we put in place to check this so that this thing will not occur again.
Okay. I'm just looking at NIBRI report number 71.
Okay.
And this is on collapsed systemic dynamics approach to the Nigerian housing sector. Using Gwarimpa as a case study. Oh. I've only seen conclusion. I've not seen recommendation. Okay. On you know.
There should be recommendations somewhere.
No, there's none.
Okay.
There's none.
Maybe that
I've
one.
Just gone
but
there.
check other recommendations are there.
So for this, there, you don't have a recommendation on what you know what to do, what can be done, you know, to solve this problem. So that's why I'll just like to know if within, you know, the professional, you know, within your professional bodies, whether there's a system to check, you know, some of these irregularities. You know, you talked about quackery. Do you have a system within the professional bodies, you know, to check this?
Yes. In Korea, there is what we call state technical committees. Okay. In each state, there is a team that composed of inspectors on any construction projects. The states governors give the representatives, the Ministry of Works, the state and federal, the professional bodies give representatives. We have about 14 of them. Police are members, immigration are members, and, civil defense are members, and we are also now including ICPC because we have MOU with them. Now, usually when you go to every state, this is what we call STC. And we also have another committee that we call Expatriate Monitoring Committee because of the experts in terms of resident permit, working permit, and what we call expatriate quota. So we have these structures in all the states of the Federation. And these are inspectors. Okay. We have developed checklists that we normally, like the DG is saying, right from the design, from the Development Control Office, who designed, who check, who approved the design, up to the site. Has the site geotechnical investigation been taken, topographical tests been taken, soil properties have been taken, who did it, in which laboratories? Korean has the mandate to accredit laboratories across the country to be able to do this. We have, like he said, we have just, for example, about 13, 17 laboratories owned by the then Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. But I am sorry to say that none of them is functioning now.
Okay.
They are obsolete. We don't have the equipment. So when you want to go and test, verify the standardization of material like cement, like roads and anything, we don't have the labs. The few labs we have is Nibri has a lab, and we have some few private laboratories that correct accredit, but they are grossly inadequate. So you will not be able to have this. Now, this our technical committee will go to site. They would like to see who is the engineer that is registered, that is supervising this building, who is the architect, who is the builder. You know, it's a team of all the experts. If we don't see this, we have a mechanism to warn the client, the developer, and our professional colleagues there to provide all this information. If they do succeed, the project continues. Otherwise, we give what we call stop work order. And you see in some of this report, you see that non-compliance to stop work order, meaning you have asked that construction should stop because there are areas that you are not comfortable based on the checklist. And then when the thing aggravates, we even close siting. Now, all this that I'm saying, you know, will eventually lead to investigation panel, and then tribunal, and then sanctioning of our colleagues, whether the engineer or the architect or the builder or the quantity surveyor or the surveyor.
Okay.
Now, this is, like I said, I will still repeat it because that is one of, I think, the key area we should focus on. This, when you look on a scale of 10, the infractions that are happening that are responsible for building collapse, this is not more than 20%. The majority of what is responsible for building collapse are the developers, the client, the owners, who are not complying at all. They disregard anything because the law...
But even if the 20% they wake up and do their job, you can still prevent.
Yeah, that is,
because if the 20% are doing the right thing,
we will look at
they
the
will
80%.
The 8%.
Yeah, it is easier said. It is easier said.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Ademo is saying, sorry sir, like Dr. Ademo is saying, you see, the demonstration of complying with ethics and professional standards, when you have the likes of Julius Berger and all these foreign expatriates companies, you see total compliance with the 20%. But when you have, you know, local indigenous, you know, somebody like you have a five-story building, you want to employ me as an engineer to do you what you are expecting me to do, and I give you my fee, you will look the other way. You go and look for a quack outside. He is the one that will replace me, that will be doing the job, and that quack will not be able to do this.
That is
20%.
That is why you should work with the states or the federal government ministries and make complaint.
You know,
say, look, this is what I have observed. This is what is going on.
Yes.
And what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
Because when you raise such questions,
the point I'm saying is, even when you report, the owner of the building, there is no law that says you should be punished, and that's what we are glamoring now. You see, until that happens, that we find a way to enact laws and legislation that will handle and deal with the 80% who are creating, in our own opinion, who are creating this mess in the country. The 20% are handicapped largely because...
President, you've talked about quacks. Later, I would like you to clarify who really is a quack. You have also talked about indigenous, implying that some of the indigenous contractors are quacks. That's the implication of what you have just said. But let me let you know that. Thank you. Let me let you know.
Let's forget.
Yes, they said. No, really? I thought we lost connection with her.
Oh, she's
okay, we have her. Now, Nibri reports, because there are so many of them here, about 80 reports. This one, and I'm very glad to mention that this is a technical report on the collapsed school building of St. Academy at the school building in Jos. And it has recommendations. All buildings should have approvals before construction. That's a responsibility for professional bodies by this recommendation. The other one is there should be an urgent structural integrity assessment on public buildings. And I want to say that this should not just be restricted to Jos. This should be a routine exercise for public safety. This is a very strong recommendation. It is not for the 80%. It is for the 20% of professional bodies, that are supposed to regulate public building. The other one is there should be stiffer penalties against the professionals, clients, and parks involved in the design and construction of any collapsed building. Engineer Nimot, I hope you're with us. Yes, can you hear? Which of these recommendations, you are the chairman of the NSA in Lagos, which of these recommendations do you routinely carry out, on any construction site?
So one of the recommendations that you said is that there should be a registered engineer to certify a project. So like the current registrar mentioned that the technical committee was created in 2022, and my Ikeja branch is one of the champions that led this. And what we've been doing to date is that the technical committee, we go to sites, we don't wait for collapse to happen. We go to ongoing construction sites, taking random samples to certify the process and to ensure that they are actually carried out according to the Lagos State building permit process. So the Lagos State building permit process has been made simpler than the way it was before. You can start your registration process online, and it clearly states the process. Then you must submit your soil investigation reports. You must also pay some permits for the emergency rescue, for example, the safety commission, for example, and the various parts of the various sections that this will be paid has also been indicated. Then, in addition to this, about 2 years ago, the Lagos State Building Control Agency, LAPSCA, also started a process called the Certified Accredited Professional Process, where independent engineers will be assigned to projects that are more than 2 floors. And this is to promote a kind of PPP. We attended the workshop as a branch, we attended, and we also passed this information to our members, now registered as individuals. I mean, like individuals, private entities, support government. There are many agencies, but like Lagos State have over 50% of the building collapse that have been recorded in Nigeria. So the certified accredited professional also augments what Koren is doing. So in this process, our members are registered as a corporate organization working with government. The regulations that have been done, what needs to be checked. I mean, the process of ensuring that approval process are done. So it will start with where is the approval, which you read in the recommendation. Then the soil investigation will be reviewed. So this team have the professionals in their consortium. So it's not a one-man consortium that has been recommended for the certified professional, but based on looking at what you did, is exactly the recommendation as an entity to register for the certified accredited professional. The state must have an architect, a builder, mechanical, electrical, and a safety person and a town planner in your consortium. So you assign buildings based on your locality and area of operation. You check the building. Then you now monitor the implementation. So when you go to sites, tick a green sticker that is placed on it, and it's to show you certified. So the certification will start from when the foundation implementation is commencing. They will come, review your design, and give you the permission to start the implementation. Then on each floor it's being done is something that I've been involved with, either accrediting, certifying a building, or also taking my project to go through this process. And just last month also, there's a workshop that now empowers, and it was widely published in the dailies for on the numbers of over 90 accredited organization has been accredited across Lagos State. This to also augment what Lagos State is doing. So we're taking the recommendation, we are passing it on, and that's why we have the synergy with NSC, the State Technical Committee, and even in February also, current also have another workshop to now elaborate beyond building, because it's not only building collapse that we have, we also have infrastructure collapse, which majorly we attribute to the fact that our structural health monitoring system is not so effective yet. We only wait and look at visual assessment. So we need to go beyond the visual assessment or wait for when the collapse is going to happen. We need to have a robust health monitoring system where we will have a database. Building, when it was constructed, what they are designed like. Some buildings are designed to last for 50 years, some are 100, and that's why we see some buildings that are being renovated, and that was the case of the collapse that happened over the weekend. It's an old building, but now being remodeled. So before remodeling it, what was the design year of such building, and what is the necessary process that needs to be put in place? Another thing that I also want to add is, irrespective of the level of volume of construction that is, you can engage those that are doing the construction and ask for the engineer in charge. The engineer in charge in this case, when you get their name, you can go to the NSC database. This will do a lot for our members when they are seeking employment or they are about to work on projects. The employer or their client will send us their certificate that we should validate this, and it's an open source. You can just go in there, put in the NSC number, and you will see the name and validate. Some we were not able to validate them, and we told the clients and the respective employer that they are not a member, they are for the certificate. So the systems are actually there, but I totally agree with what my colleagues and mentors have said, that there is a need for enforcement. Then the process of the whistleblowing also needs to be strengthened. That has really been effective. The case also less than 2 weeks ago in Bagada, somebody just did a viral video and LAPSCA came to rescue. The building was pulled down. So it's the recommendation has always been very helpful. We've been passing it to the government, and we've also been working hand in hand with relevant agencies. There's also another organization, another body, that's Building Collapse Prevention Grid. They've been having meetings and the sensitization has been going on. They've also been enforcing, but it's a lot to do, I must say, speaking from perspective of from Lagos, which is one of the fast-growing states in Nigeria, and everybody wants to have a space, but we can just keep trying to make Lagos State safe for everybody. So the recommendations, they always come, we always read them, and we always domesticate them across Lagos State and indeed Nigeria. So that's the bit that we've been able to do from the branch level with Lagos State, and the certified accredited professional is actively going on. So when you say construction site, just look for that sticker to say you see it as certified, and if you don't see it, then it has not gone through the right planning approval process.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done. But Lagos and Abuja still top the building collapse chart.
Of course,
So we'll find out.
especially Lagos, actually, especially Lagos.
Exactly.
We'll take a break, but then before we go on break, let's just take some of these responses from our viewers, so that when we come back, we'll have Dr. Adeyemo to respond to some of these questions. This Emmanuel from Owerri says, as an engineer on site, if a client provides substandard materials, what do you do? Then Peter says, some engineers on site in Nigeria are not directly involved in the job. They come to site as if they are going to occasion. That is, they don't dress well. Most of the professionals are not trained for practicals from schools. Well, that's another question. And he says, I think what causes building collapse in Nigeria is mainly due to non-utilization of professionals in all construction in the country. This is Nigeria. Building stakeholders' hands are tied. Unemployment won't allow proper work to be done. If an engineer will insist on proper thing to be done. Then we have with due respect to the leadership of the regulating association, most of them have aims and objectives that are not followed. Foundation of a building determine the longevity of the building. People are using a foundation of 1 story to build 3 stories. Anyway,
I have some more.
You have some more?
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a.
Let's just take the break. When we come, we have the more. Then Dr. Adi will now respond to some of this. We'll take a break now. Stay with us.
Major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses, and of course harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move a subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening, but that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of skills in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
With total submission to the will of God, we announce the passing of our beloved mother, Barrister Mrs. Benedict Eni Edem, who passed on 28 March 2025 at the age of 73. First female member, MNI of NIPS from Cross River State. Mama was a federal civil servant who retired meritoriously She is survived by her son, a daughter, and 4 grandsons and host of relations. Condolence visit, 23rd April 2025. Venue, her residence in Calabar. Time, 7 a.m. Service of songs, 24th April 2025 at Presbyterian Church of Nigeria, Hobweddell Parish, Calabar, at 5 p.m. Funeral and memorial service, 25th April 2025. Venue, Presbyterian Church of Nigeria, Hobweddell Parish, Calabar, at 11 a.m. Signed, Orok Ekpenyon Eden, son, for the family. Jesus,
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. I think, man.
Sorry, I think you're losing your voice. Yeah. Please, can you bring a cup of tea for Demola while I take the... Okay. Dr. Abbas Idris, we know Dr. Abbas Idris. This is coming from him. The laws regulating buildings, builders, engineers, and so on are not effective. I suggest that in any collapsed building in Nigeria, injury and death should be compensated adequately based on the provisions of the religion of the deceased. There is the need for all buildings on the 2nd floor and above to be insured. Now that's coming from Dr. Abbas Idris. Now Meina Mohammed sends his own comment. Why is it that most of all buildings are executed by architects? All right, and he said, good morning, Nigeria. What will be the way forward to curtail future occurrences, and how can the law be enforced to manage the frequent collapse of building in Nigeria? And finally, Engineer Isang, the underlying point is lack of enforcement of codes of regulations, and this is very, very fundamental, because one of the recommendations from the report on the collapsed building under construction at Beirut in Kano is for the domestication of National Building Code, NBC 2006, which means, the National Building Code has not been domesticated at the state level by all the states. So this is a recommendation. Okay. And there's also another, you have another? Yes,
I have, but
yes,
he will. Father, so that he can not lose track of what we're talking about.
Yes, he will. He will. Sorry, Demola. The other one is also for, I think this is for Abuja Metropolitan, whatever, need to be strict with monitoring compliance, especially when construction is ongoing in any building site. Please, let's take his Dr. question before I come to.
I think as a professional, if your client is giving you a substandard material as a professional, you should reject and explain to him why you cannot go ahead and use substandard materials. And one thing, again, is that because you are a registered engineer, you have something at stake in case there is any building collapse. Your certificate will be withdrawn, and that means that is the end of your professional life if care is not taken. So for registered professionals, I think they are very conscious of that. And that is why the issue of quackery should be tackled in Nigeria. A quack has no stake. So he has no registration with CORED or with any professional body. And so he can afford to use substandard materials in constructing a building without thinking or blinking an eyelid. So that is that about that question. So what other one?
There are other questions. Some engineers on site in Nigeria are not directly involved in the job. They come to site as if they are going to occasion. Most of the professionals are not trained for practicals from schools. I mean, how do you dress when you go for inspection?
Yeah, but how does that help?
Some people, they just come like that, they wear agbada and all that stuff, and you believe that they are actually going to work. They dress as if they're going for, what's it called now? Wedding.
I really don't think that is correct. It depends on the task for that. Like if I want to attend management meeting, it's not all about an engineer going to site, wearing jeans or smart dress. Now, there are some days that you want to have meetings on site, then there is nothing wrong if you wear suits.
Yes, I think that's just it. But let us look at more important factors.
All right. So.
NIBRI has quite. I mean, I'm impressed with the recommendations. You know, like we said, element enforcement. So I'm just going to ask DG, what do you do with all of these recommendations? Do they just gather dust, just as I'm saying you've brought, you know, a good number? What are they doing in your shelf?
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, there is no building collapse that occur because NIBRI does not go there to carry out maybe a test, to carry out a report, to come out with recommendations. Our presence are always felt when there is building collapse. And after that, we carry samples from the building collapse site. We take it to a lab, we assess, we analyze, we come out with recommendations. From recommendation, we bring out a report like this. We identify our relevant stakeholders. All our stakeholders, we give them copies of this report. NIBRI, by our mandate, we are not responsible for enforcement. We cannot arrest you, but we can create awareness.
Who, for which of the professional regulators do
all
you give?
The regulators, Koren, we give them sample. NSC, we send copies to NSC at their headquarters. We send it to FCDA.
To put on
no, we give them to read, to look at our outcomes, to look at our recommendations. This is what we think is responsible.
What do you expect Koren to do with them?
So Koren, where you get recommendations from?
Yes, I want to know what he expects Koren to do.
No, what do you do with
maybe let me
yes, what do you expect Koren?
You can see the recommendations cut across almost every profession and every sector. The one that concerns bringing out specialists that takes care of approval of building plan. It's left for the government to know who to be given that responsibility of approving the building plan. For us, we have brought out a recommendation. How it is done, we cannot tell the government.
What do you expect Koren to do with some of the recommendations?
Koren, when it concerns them, they should take adequate measure to ensure that what is recommended is put in place.
Okay. So what do you do with the recommendations?
Very good. Thank you. When we have such a reports from NIBRI and even from our own team at the technical, state technical committees, like Lagos said, we have reports from different sources. Normally when you have these reports, then we have what we call the ERM committee, Engineering, Regulation and Enforcement Committee. We will review the reports and then we will now identify professionals, in our own case engineers. We are not responsible for the architects, for the builders, for the town planners. They have their own similar regulatory bodies. But for the engineers, we now identify who are involved in right from the design of this building up to the point of construction, and then a certification for habitation, and then handing over. Now, if we identify them and it has collapsed, then we will invite them. We will have another thorough investigation, and that will lead us to tribunal. Once if this report is sufficient enough, we use it, and then we escalate it, we submit it to the tribunal. The tribunal usually has what we call an assessor. It's a SAN that leads that tribunal. It's a group of about experts from all disciplines of engineering. The last assessor that chairs our tribunal is the current Attorney General and Minister of Justice. That's the last person. Justice Pabami, you know, he's the last assessor of current tribunal. Now, what we do at tribunal, we will bring out the infractions where somebody is supposed to do his job, like the DG explained. There are many of them. There are many stages. We will interrogate you. We'll ask you to bring the design, to bring everything at the design level. We'll ask you to bring your schedule of supervision, to bring your checklist if it is at the construction level. We'll ask you to bring the laboratory that did the geotechnical testing and what have you. So all the we have a standard checklist that we will use to validate who is culpable. Once we identify the culpability of the person, then in our law, we have the sanctions. Some, you know, is suspension, some is withdrawal of licensing. So that's why I'm saying that reasonably, most of the professional, the regulatory bodies, we do this bit of our work.
And within the ambit of your mandate,
yes.
And do you have the capacity, both human and financial capacity, to carry out all of this?
No, we don't. You know, interestingly,
so there's a gap.
Yes, there's a serious gap. interestingly, a lot of these things, like the state inspection visit, involves funding. The sitting of the investigation panel involves, of course, money, and then the sitting of the tribunal. Now, interestingly for you to know is that 2023, Koren is among those regulatory bodies that were defunded. We are not funded again by government, and we are expected to be doing a lot of this. And the issue of the whistleblowing, so we are engaging whistleblowers, intelligence and surveillance task force officers. So all these are things that, unless and until you have these.
So how do you respond to perform all these functions now?
Well, we have to scale it down because we are battling now to even pay salary of our staff. We have states, we have offices in all the 36 states. We have regional offices in the 6th region, in Ibadan, in Kano, in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, in Gombe, and here at FCT. So you can easily imagine that we have been removed from funding at all. So a lot of these things that we used to be doing, like I think for the last 2 years, the tribunal have not sat. One, because the assessor is now the Minister of Justice, so we have asked him to appoint, because it is the Minister of Justice that appoint the assessor, to appoint his replacement. And then we don't have even the funding to call the meeting, because when you are calling the meeting, people come all over the country to come and see for 2-3 days, and you know what that takes. These are senior people that will come because they are adjudicating cases of their own colleagues, and they are going to sanction the person and what have you. So these are the part of the constraint we have in terms of.
So is this? I mean, this conversation we're having now, is it likely to be another conversation with the gaps and your capacity to perform this task? Is it just going to be the same conversation?
I hope not, because you see, to me, there are two likely pathways. This issue of our ability to discharge our responsibility, and I believe it is the same thing with the other professional bodies. This is one. Second is the issue of the expansion of the legislative scope. Like somebody mentioned, we have already, gathered a lot of new positions, like insuring buildings. At what floor should we, insist that the developer or the client or the owner must be able to now insure the building at second or third floor? And there are a lot of things that we are trying to attach.
Yes, that's Dr. Idris.
So and then when you finish a building, we are already advocating that we should be able to see whereby there is a testing and then there is certification for habitation. And so that when there is a testing, validation and verification, and then there is a certificate given for habitation, the person that did the testing will be held accountable because they have certified that it is, And then when we are now saying that the issue of the laboratories, we must be able to provide laboratories across the country, that are accessible to SON to test the substandard materials, to all the development control offices across the country. So there are a lot of issues, not only to us as professional bodies, but to the other stakeholders. One of the most functional laboratory, I must admit, is NIBRI has a very functional laboratory for testing, construction building materials. And we have some few private that we accredit.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, we don't have any government, officials here to respond to some of those issues. But we, some of the respondents.
Yes, please. So that we can get done with the president.
Yeah, we don't have much minute.
Yes, the report on the collapsed building in Jabi district, the finding says the average depth of foundation was found to be below 1.2 meters, and the lowest depth was 0.8 meters, which is too shallow for such a structure. It was also discovered that the structure was just lying on virtual topsoil and others. I mean, this is not the handiwork of a quack. This is apparently, this building, was not constructed by quacks. They're constructed by qualified professionals. Some of them probably belong to Koren. I'm sure you must have seen this. Have there been sanctions or with regards to this case?
Yeah, I want to eschew some words. Yeah. When you say it is done by professional.
Professionals.
Yeah.
Some of whom.
Yeah. For us, you know, there was a time you said you want me to clarify to you what is a quack.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, somebody may claim to be an engineer.
Okay.
But is he registered? Is he certified? Does he have the current practicing license? This is what makes you a certified professional. If, for instance, you graduated 20 years ago and you have not undergone what we call mandatory professional development activities, you know, what the lady is saying that they're having this training and what have you. Because engineering is dynamic. Like any other profession, you must update yourself. If you haven't done that, you will not be able to go and update your practicing license. So as far as you are concerned, you are a quack.
Okay.
You are a quack.
Okay, let me just ask this.
And sorry, sir, the another dimension of quack, because it's important. If you are a civil engineer, a structural engineer, who are supposed to be involved in most of this building, and then you are a water resource, you are, let's say you are an agri engineer or you are a metallurgical engineer and you are given this work to do, and you do it, you are a quack. Okay. Even if you are certified. Yes. Because we respect specialty. Okay, we respect specialty. You know, civil engineer, structural engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer are mainly, and of course safety engineer, are mainly the ones involved in most of this building business. Now, if you have other qualified, like electronic engineer, if electronic engineer come and play the role of structural engineer, it's a quack. Okay. As far as we are concerned. Right. And so we will display him at the tribunal because he shouldn't have accepted that job. Because when you register and license in current, you specify your area of specialty. So you are going to practice in those areas of specialty only.
So we have a better knowledge of what a quack is
yes.
now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for that. Gukas Peter from Jos says, if the 20% can stand on the right things to be done, the 80% cannot do anything unless the 20% compromised.
Well, we just
agreed.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Just
now, the issues of building collapse are embarrassing to us as a nation. Government should introduce what we call national building and safety emergency officers to regulate activities of the industries. In Nigeria, everybody is an engineer. The highly connected client will never comply with regulations. How true is that?
Yeah, that's very true.
It's very true. Okay.
They are in the 80s.
They are in the okay.
Those
they
are
are in the
80s. Yes.
Okay. Jose from Abakaliki says, most builders compromise quality by using substandard materials, while some government agencies are not supervising properly.
That's also true.
Well, the Zoom guest.
Yes, just 60 seconds for Nimot, and then we'll just conclude. 66, maybe 30 seconds. Nimot, so tell us why Lagos is on the chart. It's on the top chart of building collapse, in spite of all that you're doing. In 30 seconds, if you may, or if you can.
All right. So, yeah, we have influx of people coming in, every second. So, and they are all looking for accommodation. So the housing demand is high, and sometimes the system is overwhelmed, and that's why it's on the increase. I mentioned that it's not only building collapse, even infrastructure collapse. That's why you see people living under the bridge, undermining the integrity of the bridge, for example. People overcrowding a structure, undermining the integrity of the structure as well. So the influx of people is in high demand. The accommodation is in high demand. Infrastructure, and maybe the hands on ground are not overwhelmed, but the partnership with government and relevant agencies will definitely address this, and also the collaboration with the academia, which we do through through career talks to even students, and also empowering the higher institution by taking the student for technical talk. So, because you always be on the charts, and I can assure you that we want to task. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Claire, when you tell a woman to talk for 30 seconds, and you know that you are wired to talk.
Yes, and because professors do not also respect time. They don't have time.
Dr. Adeyemi, let's have your 30 seconds. You will see the man now. We'll stick to 30 seconds.
I think there should be collaboration between the different professional bodies, first of all, and even the government agencies. And we can see from what the president of Koren said, they should be funded.
Okay, thank you.
They should be funded.
Yeah, the crux of the matter is a building that collapsed in Lagos. I mean to understand the building is existing within an estate. And the ground floor is used as a restaurant. One, if property like this is given to you, before you use it, there is the need for you to carry out what we call integrity tests. Is this building convenient and comfortable? Can I use it? That's
yes,
number one.
What's your recommendation?
Number two again, since the building is existing within an estate, all the buildings within that estate, the quality is in doubt. Okay. They need to be subjected to integrity tests for us to be sure that the quality of the building is
Thank you, DG. Okay, President Koren.
Well, for me, I would emphasize that the collaboration, a very deeper synergy among the regulators in the construction and the built environment is imperative. And we have started doing that between Cobon, COMEG, and ACON. And then second, we will not be able to do exactly what is expected of us if we don't have the appropriate funding for us to be able to enforce what we know is impossible.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Sadiq Zubair Abubakar, current president. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning.
Thank you so much.
Also, I want to thank Professor Samson Duna, DG CEO, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, NIBRE. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me also thank National President Construction and Civil Engineering Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Dr. Ayodeji Adeyemo, who decided to stay throughout the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
And Engineer Nimot Mwili, Chairman, Nigeria Society of Engineers, Ikeja branch. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for us this Wednesday. Thank you very much, and thank you all of you who sent in your requests. Please don't forget tomorrow is another day. I'll be here, and Demola will be here as well.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.